jab, uppercut, leave you laid out on the floor. Try to duck and roll, hit and miss, now you counting stars. Should've practiced more, should've hit the mask, get out there more. Claim that you're the best. You gotta show me, son, actions over words, baby boy, is you real or what? Talking way too much, world come back sports, talking way too much, world come back sports, talking way too much, world come back
Once again, you're tuned in to World Combat Sports. Salute to each and every one of you, the WCS supporters. Foremost, appreciate you tuning in as always, man. We here for another one. Got some hot topics. You already know, looking at the thumbnail, what the main topic is, and then we're gonna get into some other, post-fight news on what we witnessed yesterday. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to the ones that's in the workforce out there. Stay healthy, providing for yourself and families, man. God bless. All of that. Mr. Pat's on deck. How you feeling? Say salute WCS. Hope all is well, brother. Excited for the show with you and Bruce about diet and supplementation. I look forward to that one. Bruce been in the game for a long time, so definitely. I look forward to whatever we can bounce off one another as far as what we know on those topics, and also for the audience that may be into it somehow, some way. Like dieting is different for everybody. Diet is different from different sports too. You know what I'm saying? Across the board is different, much different. Big dog on deck. What's good? Say salute WCS. Let's get into the big news that broke. The big news on deck. If you don't know now, you know. It's already been out there. It's not up to me to be first at this. You know what I'm saying? But news broke that Top Rank, you know what I'm saying, coming up in April, somehow, some way. Now, I'm not tying all this together. I'm not tying all this together. I'm just saying. Word has broke that Oscar Valdez versus Shakur Stevenson is reportedly close to being set for a WBC WBO Super Featherweight World Championship showcase. Tentative for April 30th. If it don't change, at the MGM Grand Las Vegas. Now, this is big news because, I've been on record as saying that I didn't think it was, a fair decision for Taylor to move up from 26 to 30 and, just walk in, to the living room with an open door policy, with no open door policy, just all, open arms embrace for him to get a title shot when he hadn't competed 130 before. We know Shakur Stevenson been calling out Oscar Valdez since he was at 26. He moved up to 30. He had to go through a little bit of, rigmarole periodically, but then he got his shot with Jamel Herring, Jamel Herring was coming off a stoppage of Carl Frampton. He had a tremendous performance as the main event down here in Atlanta, and he was continuing to call out Oscar Valdez. But all of a sudden, Emmanuel Navarrete's name just floated into the, topic of the conversation as being the next in line for Valdez. And we're saying to ourselves, like, how can that be possible? Like, this doesn't make any sense, man. Why would they just ignore Shakur Stevenson if, he's out here trying to be the best, trying to be the greatest, you know what I'm saying, and what he do, trying to put his name on the pound for pound list. Why in the hell with Emmanuel Navarrete? And I like Emmanuel Navarrete. I've been on record with that a long time ago, man. Dude is the truth when it comes to boxing, but now all of a sudden the Terrence Crawford situation comes up the top rank. They're dropping all these surprises on the first end of 22. You notice that? PBC came out with their shit. Terrence Crawford came out with his civil lawsuit. And then we've yet to hear on Cambozo on what he's planning to do. I know Eddie Hearns is up here talking about, they're in negotiations. I don't believe any of that until I get the information like this. That Shakur Stevenson, Oscar Valdez, possible for April 30th. You know what I'm saying? When I hear something like this, all of a sudden, why the change of heart? Why the change of heart, so to speak? I'm just curious to why the change of heart all of a sudden for Shakur Stevenson to get his shot. Is it because we Black History Month coming up? I don't freaking know, bro. Like, they was talking about Emmanuel. That's all we was hearing. Now all of a sudden, Shakur Stevenson is set to step in there for a unification bout for WBO and WBC championship showdown. I like it. I told you I like it. I like this shit. And then I have to question myself. I say, man, as much as I love it, you know what I'm saying? As much as I love this matchup, as much as I love it, I also have to never forget what boxing has reminded me. Boxing reminds me of, at any given time, you can put all your energy and effort into something only to get slapped in the motherfucking front and the back of your head with a double claw hammer. They will send you to the ring and get you all pumped up, and then there's a controversial decision. Now, we know that neither one of these guys are knockout artists. They can get the stoppage, but they're not knockout artists, right? So if the fight does go to the scorecards, all I'm saying is, I know it's like prognosticating negativity, right? But what I'm saying is, I don't want to go to the scorecards and come down to a point of a controversial decision. For what? Just to say you gave, Shakur Stevenson a shot. He didn't get it done. Now Emmanuel Navarrete is right where he should be anyway. I mean, I don't want y'all tripping, but that's the way you got to start putting together certain things about boxing. Like, it's very much deals with freaking magic. You know what I'm saying? Sleight of hand and shit. Motherfucker, false advertisement. Agitprop. Boxing deals with a lot of that. So when you see a fight like this, you got to think, how deep are they going to go with the sabotage? Is it going to be a straight up fight? Are we going to get a fair fight? You know what I'm saying? Because the only way you don't go to the scorecards is a knockout. So I'm saying to myself, is this going to be a fair fight? Knowing that Oscar Valdez came off a controversial decision against Consecayo. He came off a controversial decision from that fighter. And also, he was able to get the levels raised. He popped dirty. And he was able to get somewhat of a cosign from Mauricio Suleiman on that matter. I'm saying to myself right now, I'm asking the question, so since the levels are raised, should Shakur Stevenson also take just enough so he won't be above those levels too? I mean, should now the black fighters, should they participate in doping? Well, look, I do know Jarrell Miller's already been out there, You know what I'm saying? He's already been accused and guilty. But Jarrell Miller is not the norm that's going across the board right now when it comes to boxing. I'm just saying, like, I've never seen a black fighter pop for something and then he get levels increased just so the fans won't give him that much backlash just so he can continue to fight. I never seen a black fighter be able to go through that acceptance. I'm just being honest. I never seen a black fighter be able to have a president of any sort stand by them, give an excuse as to why they pop dirty, and being that they did pop dirty, increase the levels to a point where the levels for which they pop dirty is no longer a question because that's none and void. That level doesn't matter. They can take it up to that level, but we're going to increase it to a higher level. So what they originally popped for, it makes no sense. It's none and void. It's useless. So that's how you clear that up. That's how you erase that from the memories of boxing fans. All you have to do is just basically treat it as if it doesn't matter anymore. And how do you do that? You increase the level. So, hey, you have people up here second guessing themselves. Well, did he really pop 30? Because he increased the levels. But the levels are increased, and for the level that he popped at that present time, it's not even set for punishment. You can't even get punished for that no more. You got to have that level that the president just instated. So he's good. He's clean. He's good. They even let him fight. So that's my biggest question. Like, is this going to be the real deal? For real. Let me get some of these comments in here. J Ocho on deck. What's good with you? Logic. Ladies and gentlemen, I definitely have to give a warm welcome to the one and only Sheena. Sheena has came over to the live chat of World Combat Sports. Welcome. Appreciate you pulling up. And the reason why I say that, I always see her over on other live chats. Appreciate you pulling up to WCS in 2022. Real talk. Big Dog said, yeah, that Bud lawsuit got Bob Arum giving Shakur that Valdez fight about that time he got it. See, I didn't even have to say, I didn't have to say much. And Big Dog already know what it is. Somehow, some way, it's some tugging and pulling going on with this lawsuit. Because all of a sudden, Shakur Stevens is very good friends with Crawford. He is a top-ranked signed fighter. Even though people was trying to make it seem like that Shakur was throwing shots at Bud, man, Bud and Shakur Stevens are very tight. I seen it on several occasions. They was wrestling one another before Shakur Stevenson's championship fight with Jamel Herring. They're very close. But all of a sudden, Bob Arum comes out and changes up the Emmanuel Navarrete controversy. Because it was fucked up. You had two Mexican fighters about to fight for a unification bout. Not only that, it came down to recognizing clearly that Navarrete never had a fight at 130. So being that you have an individual sitting there calling out a fighter at a lower weight class at 126 to move up, get a belt, and you ignore him, but yet Terrence Crawford lawsuit is talking about racial biasness. Somebody's trying to put the goddamn janitor to work and clean up that shit. Logic on deck. Have to ask World Combat Sport, what lawsuit forced Arum to get Crawford multiple divisions, unified champion, and undisputed? You can work your way up through anything. You can have employment, right? You can have employment in life and work yourself up to a certain point in that job. I mean, like when it comes down to what we experience in life, biasness, it can be time released. You know what I'm saying? That's the two words I like to use. Bias, prejudice, racism, it can be time released. You know what I'm saying? Just because we can look at the accomplishments that Terrence Crawford's been able to get, you also have to look back in time as to see other boxers that was, under the banner of Top Rank. Not just Crawford. So just because Crawford was able to contractually, sign a very, wet deal, so to speak, very lucrative for his guarantee money. The problem comes into play on what Bob Arum wasn't able to deliver. Terrence Crawford was able to come up to the division, beat Jeff Horn, defend his belt 5 times. But in between time, if Top Rank promised him something and it didn't happen, you nor I totally understands what was going on behind the scenes. And that he was supposed to get Errol Spence fight. And then, if he didn't, it was going to be $1 million. Then guess what? They have to figure that out. And once again, along with that, how do we not say it wasn't any racial biasness internal to an organization just because Crawford was able to win some titles? That doesn't say anything. Just because he was able to win some titles, there's no racial biasness. Like I said the other night, how many fighters are walking around here making that Canelo money? It's a lot of fighters out here aren't satisfied with what they're making. They're making way more than me and you, but they're not making Canelo money. They're not making Floyd Mayweather money. If you got fights for Crawford to become undisputed, why not Shakur? Listen, why was Emmanuel Navarrete in the topic of discussion before Shakur Stevenson? Why wasn't the automatic attention given to Shakur Stevenson coming off a fight with Jamel Herring? He's duly qualified. Shakur Stevenson is duly qualified. He's a 2-weight champion. So why wouldn't he be first in line? Why wouldn't he be first in line to fight Oscar Valdez for unification? J. Ocho say, salute WCS. I was wrong about Qatar. Gave him that work. Yeah. Qatar had that fight with Max Holloway, man. He learned a lot from that beatdown. Even if we differ in views, respect your opinion on matter. Bro, it's not personal. Logic, as much as you come over here, it ain't personal, bro. You can ask whatever question. I'm just saying, this is how I treat people in my live chat. I treat them like they're grown as adults and they smart, right? I'm starting your intelligence off at 100%. It's up to you not to reduce that just off, putting things in the chat that doesn't make any sense to boxing. So being that you asked me a legitimate question, I'm just saying, like, just because Crawford was able to get, become undisputed and this, that, and the other, what does that have to do with the recent events and what he's filing a lawsuit for? And since he filed a lawsuit, how all of a sudden Shakur Stevenson is hitting the media for a fight April 30th with Oscar Valdez when we ended 2021, it was no talk out to the media. No talk. Starting 2022, the first week, no talk of it, no mention. It had to be some guilt somewhere. It has to be something that's going down that we're not totally on board with because it's internal to the promotion. Shakur outboxes Valdez easily. Too slick. Not like Burchelt, who there to exchange. This is going to be a good fight. I'm not going to sit up here and say Shakur Stevenson walked through Valdez because Valdez has shown his toughness. He's shown that he has that grit. He is durable. I mean, people love bringing up the fight with Scott Quigg. But, I look at it like when I interviewed him, Oscar Valdez, to me, he understands what he's trying to get from boxing. But at this point right now, a lot of boxing fans, to include myself, is trying to find out what's going on over there in the Eddie Reynoso camp. When you have not one fighter, but you have two fighters that pop dirty, but the levels are raised. And you have a president to vouch for these fighters. A president is vouching for a fighter that's in violation of the substance policy when it comes to boxing, when it comes to the dang anti-drug program, the voluntary anti-doping agency. You know what I'm saying? Per the doping agent, per the voluntary anti-doping agency, they're popping positive for banned substances, and then we get the president up here saying what? He's coming here making up excuses and coming up with these damn addendums that haven't even been in the damn laws before, in the regulations before, and it's two Mexican fighters already, two Latino fighters. How does that not add up to something's going on? Like everything about that is all bad. Like you have two Mexican fighters that's popping dirty, and the same results happen. Mauricio raises the levels. How can you mollify something like that? How do you do that? You have someone that's obviously violating and that's in violation, taking drugs, performance enhancing drugs. How do they get a pass? And then after that, he's coming off a vicious knockout of Miguel Burchell. And me, I'm looking at it like, okay, what did that contribute to the damn, knockout in itself? I know it was a very well placed shot, but did that contribute? How long has he been doing it? Then to see Shakur Stevenson become champion, now he has a legitimate position to call out Oscar Valdez, and they bring up Emmanuel Navarrete. And that's not biasness. That shit is extremely biasness. Hard left. But I agree with you saying, I agree with you to a bit. I think it's going to be a very tough fight. If I'm looking at the better box, I have to say Shakur Stevenson. But Oscar Valdez is no punk. He isn't. So Shakur Stevenson, feel that Oscar Valdez has disrespected the sport. It's up to him to go in there and shut that shit down. Say, okay, you're a dope fiend. You're a dirty fighter. And he go in there and take his WBC belt. And he can send Valdez about his way. What I don't want is a controversial decision, whether it be a draw or going for the opposite fighter that didn't actually win the fight. Seawood on deck, man. I see you. Valdez hit fighters that stand there making themselves available to get touched. Shakur ain't them dude. UD for Shakur. I see a UD. If anything, I don't see Shakur Stevenson knocking him out though. I just don't see it. Valdez has pretty good power, but Shakur Stevens has just showed fantastic defense and offense, man. He's shown that his skill set, confidence, ring IQ, he's continued to improve in there. He's separated himself from those names. Like he has his own style. Nobody's comparing him to Mayweather. He's Shakur Stevenson. You know what I'm saying? He's all himself. That's what it's about. I'm glad he doesn't get that Floyd Mayweather comparison. He gets his own brand, his own name, his own fighting style, and then his own legacy, all attributed to who he is as a fighter. That's what I like to see, especially from black fighters. I don't like to see the Floyd Mayweather comparison. But when he goes in there for Oscar Valdez in April, that fight is going to do very, very well, man. Serious. I think this fight is going to be very, very decent numbers. Sheena said, thank you, WCS. No problem. No problem. Jay Ocho say they're going to pop up with Big Baby Anderson versus Tyson Fury. Hey man, right now I really, I told people when Deontay Wilder leave the sport, people are gonna miss him, and the heavyweight division ain't gonna be shit without him. Nobody's talking about the dang heavyweight division. It's just almost like a clearance rack. You're looking for your size, but it ain't there. You know what I'm saying? You're looking for shit that's just not gonna be there. Right now, the heavyweight division is not making any sense. It's not popping. It's no matchups people are looking forward to. Even Anthony Joshua and Usyk. Nobody's looking forward to see that fight. They're not really talking about it. They don't know what the fuck Anthony Joshua got going on. And then for Tyson Fury, it's just it's turned into a debacle because Dillian White lawsuit for 80-20. I mean, all that shit is just garbage now. Bring back Wilder to fight one of these guys so we can start talking about some excitement. Because what we're seeing, it's almost like nobody's looking for Tyson Fury, Dillian White. And then they put a different name in there all the time in the media on who Tyson Fury potentially may face. Robert Helenius is coming out saying he want to fight Tyson Fury. I mean, hey, bring back the Bronze Bomb, a bomb squad, goddammit. Giving Keyshawn Davis a title fight, he said he want to be on Loma track. Why not? Now, shout out to Keyshawn Davis, man, his brothers. Keyshawn Davis' last fight at MSG, he looked damn good in there. He's looking better than he did the first 3 fights he came over here when they relieved him from the Olympic arena. You know what I'm saying? He came over here, picked up 3 professional fights, went back, picked up the silver, and now he's back, right? But he just looked different that last fight. He looked different, man. So I hope he get a title fight. I truly do. I want to see that. I want to see some of these black fighters fight each other too. You know what I'm saying? I do. I want to see them fight each other too. Because if we're going to have some top names in boxing who are good, solid, credible, reputable fighters, let's see them fight each other other than, once a year. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's not too many divisions where we are truly deep. Boxing is ran by black and Mexican fighters, period. But all you see is black and Mexicans majority of the time fighting each other. 130 is turning up. You know what I'm saying? 130, 135, of course, both of those divisions. We have the up and comers like the Keyshawn Davis. Keyshawn Davis obviously is the best of his brothers, and we're gonna see him start to grow. But him getting a title shot right now, it's all about how much love they got for him. You know what I'm saying? They was all lovey-dovey in the press conference, Bob Arum and them, but I don't know how much love he's gonna get right away. You mentioned him being in comparison on the same fast track as Loma. Do they really love Keyshawn like that? Like you talking about Lomachenko, he's a 2-time gold standard. You know what I'm saying? Well, are they truly gonna give Keyshawn that love like that? I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you about that, bro. I couldn't give you 2 thumbs up on that. I know they just signed with Top Rank and all that, and it's all good. The welcome aboard package and everything looks all sweet. It smiles, cheesing. Everybody's all taking pictures and shaking hands. But guess what? I don't know if they're gonna give him. I don't know, man. I'd love to see him in there with a title fight. But they believe he's ready. But is he that popular yet? Has he did enough? You know what I'm saying? For them to put him in there with somebody that's familiar, that's recognizable. I don't know, man. But shout out to Keyshawn though. Thoughts on Ali, family, Foreman, and Sugar Ray who have good relationships and defending Aaron on this matter. I'm glad you asked that question, Logic. All right. And this is what I try to tell people, because, I'm a much older cat, born and raised in the South. And I try to explain this to people but sometimes they just don't want to hear stories from people who've been living longer than them. Say I used to be that way when I was younger. I said, "Oh God, goddamn uncle coming over here, man. I don't want to hear that." But check this out, though. This is what I got to say about the names that you mentioned with the Ali, the Foremans, and the Sugar Ray. If they worked with Top Rank back in the day, they may have felt that in their careers they was provided the opportunity. Top Rank didn't force George Foreman to go on a multi-year hiatus from suffering his loss. They didn't force him to do that. You know what I'm saying? Muhammad Ali, what is he known for? You know what I'm saying? What do people respect Ali for? His journey through the sport. A 3-time heavyweight champion, an activist, a person that was punished for avoiding the draft, dog. And also he spoke up. You know what I'm saying? Part of the Nation of Islam. Muhammad Ali, man, their family probably look at it like Muhammad was able to provide a living for them. They did right by Ali. This, that, and the other. You have people in a certain sport like boxing that know how rough it is, but they look back at it and say, damn, that shit wasn't really that bad. Like you have people that's closer to everything that's going on. And people get mad because you have some black fighters that's defending Bob Arum. Look, I try to tell people all the time, man, racism and bias is time released. Not everybody can run a business like Bob Arum and don't sign any black fighters. Treat every black fighter like shit. Bob Arum has been through the grimiest, the darkest places you can imagine in boxing. He's been there. So when you look at the civil lawsuit that's coming up with Terrence Crawford, give him the benefit of the doubt on going up there to fight for something that he experienced. These other people that's just mentioned, they may not have experienced a situation like that. And a huge part to note, it's a lot of fighters that rarely have a conversation with a promoter like Bob Arum. They deal with his people. Bob Arum may feel some type of way. Let's just say he has some prejudice and bias about him, right? But the people that's working beneath him, they haven't experienced, him denigrating black people, black fighters. They haven't experienced him doing that. Because at the end of the day, he have to run a business. He have to stay away from being sued. So he has to treat these fighters one way or the other. You know what I'm saying? Let's just say he has some partial prejudice in his body. He's racist in certain aspects. Does that mean every black fighter has experienced it? What about the NBF? Does somebody have a picture of that board? The names that was on the board. If indeed, I would like to know why the NBF was even relevant. Why was it an active thing at the time? Who created the NBF? So all I'm saying is it's a fighter that could be a part of the promotion, but they may not even come close to any of that shit that we seeing right now that play out in the civil lawsuit. They might not have been physically discriminated against. They might not have experienced it firsthand and seeing some of the people who work for Top Rank treat them with bias and prejudice. People may have been the ones that's dealing with all the business and stuff like that. People may have did it. People may have been closer to experience the business aspect of it. But for the fighter These fighters are not walking through the top rank headquarters and doing business for themselves, walking up in Bob's office, kicking their feet up and say, "Hey Bob, how you doing? I just thought I'd drop by. I was going out to get some lunch." You know how many fighters top rank have? Them fighters are not going in there just chilling. Bruce goes on deck. Boxing, jazz, and more. Salute to you, my brother. Peace, family. Work. Hold up. That's a good question, Logic. You know, asking about the PBC executive and so forth, but I look at it like this. I'm definitely trying to keep it on Oscar Valdez and Shakur Stevenson because it's a big deal. You know what I'm saying? I did a live on that not too long ago about Timothy Smith and the words that he expressed to the public, as if he was accusing all of us as just cracking the motherfucking fight anyway. We wasn't paying for it. We were stealing it. And then on top of that, he want to say economically, um, it's in shambles. You know what I'm saying? It's up in flames right now. There's no way they can come up with the money after they done just put on a Canelo Alvarez and Caleb Plant. They can't come up with the money. They don't want to insult Crawford though. No way Shakur can get fight stolen on cards. Shakur would dominate the rounds. I'm looking at it that way. A lot of people are going to look at Shakur Stevenson dominating the rounds. I get it. That's how my assumption is too. Looking at him fight, Shakur loves to be in control. He loves to set his own pace. He loves to dictate, the motherfucking pressure, the momentum, everything. To me, he's not a fighter that's trying to play catch up. He never want to put himself in that position of playing catch up. He wants to be in control. Davis looked like the goods. Mac of the South, salute to you. Salute my brother King WCS. Appreciate you pulling up. WCS, if the fight is close to being done, don't you think they have been negotiating for weeks? Shakur even tweeted he had some news coming. He just put that out there, Dun Dollar. He just put that out. All right. So just like I said about another fight, sure they've been in negotiations. But like I said before in boxing, what are they guilty for? What are they known for? Puppetizing the audience, right? Dada? Puppetizing the audience, the fight fans. They come out with other things in the media. You want to link up Navarrete to Valdez next. Navarrete Valdez. It was no Stevenson in that equation. Now, what have they been talking about? Obviously, they've been talking. People can talk all the time. But until something solid comes down where they say, okay, it's green It's greenlit. It's a go. That's when the important papers start to get become transferable. They start sending, term sheets and contracts over and stuff like that. If that ain't going on, all it is just verbal transmission. You know what I'm saying? They just communicating between one another. Managers do that shit all the time. They call people and try to make fights. They call other managers to make fights. That happens all the time, man. If Aaron cleared in a lawsuit, will folks accept it, or will the system be blamed? Like I said before, my scope of understanding is beneath sitting up here trying to explain something to you, and that is no ifs, ands, or buts. I don't know shit about that. You're asked, that's an open-ended question to say, as if I can predict how people are gonna feel or who they're gonna point the finger at. If he is cleared, he is cleared. So they're gonna say, all right, the judicial system saw it in favor of Top Rank, and they didn't feel like Team Crawford presented enough evidence to prove their case. I can only go off some, speculations, assumptions. If he's cleared, he's cleared. You know what I'm saying? It won't be the first time that he's went to court on a lawsuit. You need two to tango. If Crawford had fought Danny and Porter at the time, he would have great numbers as well. I agree if you're talking about Errol Spence and that, yeah. For sure. For sure. PBC has money to give non-PBC Canelo $40 million, but can't come up with some for Crawford or Spence. Like I tell people, I assume that was a jab thrown at Errol Spence too. There's a lot that people are not even willing to accept that's going behind the scenes with Errol Spence. They just think that dude is just walking on water and he's doing everything right over there and he's this big, huge cash cow. Errol Spence is not a cash cow, bro. Like, he's not doing incredible numbers. Look, in order for you to get to a level where no matter who you fight, people are going to tune in pretty decently, I mean, it just takes some maneuvering. It takes good fights. It takes performance values. Not only do you have to get the fights, you have to look good in those fights. It's different. The way people latch on to certain individuals. Everybody gives off a different aura. Like, Canelo is the man right now. He went in there. He was on the receiving end of a boxing clinic from Floyd, and he haven't lost since then. He stepped in there twice with Gennady Golovkin, and no one can say we wasn't looking forward to that fight. Why? Because the first fight, we was thinking, and no, let me take that back. It wasn't we. Jim Lampley and his whole entire freaking puppet base out there that was leading that Gennady Golovkin was this machine. Okay, the shit was a draw, no matter how you look at the controversy, right? But then he popped dirty. So, he got suspended, retroactive back to February, I believe. So he got a 6-month suspension, and it still kept the fight on task. And then we saw a damn good rematch. Ever since then, man, I'm like, Canelo's doing what the hell he want to do. No matter how many fights he had in Mexico, like 20-some fights, people are just looking at what he's been able to accomplish now. Even him fighting Abner Yildirim. Yeah, he should warrant criticism for that bullshit. But yet, people are going to praise him outside of picking up his 4th division of Rocky Fielding. Why? Because he unified the division. So nobody's really going to talk about that little shit. You know what I'm saying? Nobody's going to give a damn he went up there and picked up the WBA regular title first. All they looking at is what he did with Callum Smith, Billy Joe Saunders, and Caleb Plant. Pop a lot on deck. What's good with you, my brother? What they do, WCS? Shakur will do Valdez filthy. I want to see a good fight. I want to see Shakur go in there and do Valdez dirty. So be it. That's the order. You know what I'm saying? Doing real dirty. You know what I'm saying? Shoot, stop going out here doping and shit. Trying to get an advantage. Stop going up here trying to get an edge, man. Let your skills do the talking. And let the needles do the walking. Shakur is Crawford friend. Does Shakur follow Crawford exit out of Top Rank? It depends on how many fights and how his contract is structured. If you're gonna leave Top Rank, you have to have a B plan. You know what I'm saying? You have to have an option. So that's the only thing I would recommend to Shakur Stevenson. Have a viable option, something that is has merit to it. Don't just make no impulsive decision because that's your boy, that's your good friend and everything, unless y'all have a solid plan in place, man, where you can continue to make money and get the fights and everything else. But people up here talking about Shakur was taking shots at Crawford. Man, you a casual boxer, man. You're temporary, for real. Those moves fell apart because Berchelt is moving to 135. Hold up for a second. Because Berchelt is moving 135, Navarrete is not signed with Top Rank anymore. And Shakur said he wouldn't go to 135 for Loma. It doesn't matter if Navarrete isn't signed with Top Rank. That conversation was closing out 21. That conversation about Navarrete was closing out 2021. And no, it didn't fall apart because of Berchelt. Who was talking about a rematch with Berchelt? Who wants to see that rematch? Berchelt has been struggling to make weight. Of course he was moving up. That didn't have anything to do with Emmanuel Navarrete fight not happening. Who was talking about Berchelt in a rematch? Nobody. Oscar Valdez wasn't talking about rematching no Berchelt. All he was doing, he kept throwing out names and he wasn't living up to the shit. So I read one article that says this. All right. Hold up for a second. Let me take this down right quick. Why would Berchelt even be in the conversation? Why? So Shakur Stevenson, it said, this is Boxing News 24. It said Shakur Stevenson said he's got big surprise for the next fight. Of course, that's how the news always breaks in boxing. I got big fight news. Stay tuned. Fans saw Valdez 12-round decision win over Consacayo as a robbery, as he appeared to lose to the Brazilian. It was thought by a lot of people that Valdez 30-0, 23 knockouts wouldn't take the fight with Shakur because the impression some have is that Oscar's afraid of Shakur. But now that we're hearing that Valdez-Stevenson fight is close to being done, it looks like the critics were wrong. It's important that the judges don't mess up the scoring for Valdez versus Shakur fight because the last thing boxing fans want to see is another controversial decision involving Oscar. This is Bob. Shakur, I think the fight for him is against Valdez. I'd love to get that fight done, Top Rank promoter Bob Arum said to WBN, World Boxing News. That's what we're looking to do. Yeah, I think before the end of April. He goes on to say other people in the company are doing negotiations, and I don't think there will be any roadblocks, said Arum. This is speaking on Navarrete. Navarrete, there are a lot of guys he could fight, but we'll figure it out. Figure it out. Arum said he can fight the winner of Valdez-Stevenson. So something's a little bit contradicting with what you said, Dada, that he's not signed and everything, because Bob Arum, this was recent. This was recent that he said this. So it seems to me that there's still some attachment there. You also have to have some charisma like Broner did or Hector Camacho. Yeah, those are special fighters. Of course, Adrian Broner, he's known for rocking the house, at 35. You know what I'm saying? But when you talk about Floyd will say, oh, well, Pretty Boy was this and Money was that. They still praise both of them. They're the same person, but one was early in his career and one was older in his career, right? One thing about Broner, it would have been great if Adrian was just lighting up every division. If you see what Adrian was able to do when he skipped over welterweight, picked up a title from Paulie, came back down and fought Nurmagomedov at 40, people just still talk about what he did at 35. They don't talk. They just know. Look, people barely talk about him being a 4th division champion. Being honest, like they're Broner, he was this weight division right here. People don't talk about him picking up a title at 40. They don't talk about him skipping, pulling his Duran, skipping and going to 47, and the shit that played out with his title win at 47. People just talk about Adrian Broner for his fight with Marcus Maidana, 4th division champion, and his fight with Marcus Maidana. And to me, as a boxing fan, I love looking at that fight because with Adrian Broner being out of shape as he was, he still fought to the final bell and showed incredible heart. And people say, fuck that. He should have been ready. Well, guess what? I say the same thing about Spence. If you're gonna hold people accountable, that's so-called boxing celebrities, I gave Broner credit in the Maidana fight, going through the adversity he did to fight on to the final bell. Like, that was vintage Broner. But now, after that fight, man, he's just inactive with his volume of punching, man. Crawford re-signed with Top Rank when he knew big fights he wanted were in PBC. If he felt that way about Aaron, why resign? So let me clear this up. All right. Let me clear this up, hopefully. So, Logic, you're talking about Crawford would have been well off going over the PBC. Once again, that's speculation. That's assumption. But it's a lot of people that's been on record about Al Heyman that he don't like to put on black versus black fighters. It's been a lot that's been in boxing that's saying, hey, black fighters don't sell. So just because you see black fighters over at PBC, you also see black fighters over at Top Rank. You see them on both sides of the promotional scale, right? I don't know why people think that PBC is the BET of boxing. Why do the old BET? Because it's been purchased, it's been sold already. It's no longer black owned, but I'm just saying they think it's the old BET where it's just all black entertainment. It doesn't mean the deals are right. I'm just saying, y'all. Like, why am I getting this Terrence Crawford should have went over to PBC? What was the contract structure over there? What were they talking about? What was the fine details? Are they guaranteeing a fight just like Top Rank? Because Top Rank supposedly had $1 million payout in there if they wasn't able to get the Errol Spence fight. Isn't that one of the reasons that he's taking the court? So if Top Rank promised something and couldn't deliver, just like they did with Mikey Garcia, didn't give him Terrence Crawford and Manny Pacquiao, once again, didn't give him Terrence Crawford and Manny Pacquiao, wasn't that a structured contract that wasn't carried forward? It wasn't honored? So if the contract wasn't honored, don't you think every promotion gets to a point where they don't totally honor a contract? Who's the promoter over there? It's multiple promoters over there at PBC. I don't know. People need to get out the mindset that PBC is the BET of 2022, 21, 20. All they do when it comes to PBC, they look at the black fighters that they know well. Y'all gotta stop looking at that shit like that. Like, I know this fighter over there, Errol Spence, Charlos. I know a lot of black fighters over there. But come on, man. Who's the cash cow? Like Deontay Wilder's over there. He made good money. But I'm just saying, like, why people think every time a black fighter, comes to a situation like Terrence Crawford, back and run to the arms, face first, and think PBC is gonna embrace Terrence Crawford when they already have a welterweight over there, a welterweight that sits below Terrence Crawford on the pound for pound list. Why would he get that welcoming? We seen Canelo run through 168, get the most hate, yet Spence has been at 147 for 10 years. I mean, he's been fluctuating up and down in weight. I try to tell people he's been fluctuating up and down in weight before that. He hasn't really been in welterweight his entire career. But people look at it like that. I get what you're saying, though. Shakur said he is in his own lane and got nothing to do with Crawford lawsuit. That's real talk. They talk about shit on the street, standing cold on the street and stuff, not talking, this, that, and the other. But yet, he come out and say he in his own lane, and people talking about he taking shots at Crawford. He ain't fucking with Crawford. That's not it. They very well respect one another, and they have love for one another. I seen it. That I know. I read they were trying to match Valdez versus Navarrete and Shakur versus Berchelt. That fight was never going to happen with no Berchelt. It was never going to happen with a Shakur Berchelt or Valdez Berchelt. You know what I'm saying? I mean, unless they're going to pay him some pretty good money or whatever. I mean, but why would they do Berchelt like that when he was talking about he was about to move up? He's going to come in there, miss weight, and get fined? I mean, what are we talking about? And after Valdez knocked him out the way he did, are we expecting Shakur Stevenson to go in there and do the same and he's not a knockout artist? I mean, you got to give it up for Valdez. The shot was amazing. The shot he landed on Berchelt was amazing, but do we really want to see Shakur Stevenson fight Berchelt just because Valdez knocked his ass out, flatlined him, stretched him? No, I don't. Do you think Bud Crawford lawsuit got them under pressure? So now they trying to make the matchups. Now that Shakur, hey, it's a start, ain't it? That ain't gonna have shit to do with nothing. If they was trying to sit up there and say, see, young, we love black fighters. We're matching Shakur Stevenson up with Oscar Valdez. And Your Honor, we're gonna make damn sure that cup and urine does not break the chain of custody. All right, we're going to make sure Valdez is clean, and clean. We're not raising any levels. You know what I'm saying? Your Honor, we're going strictly by the rules. You know what I'm saying? Hey, no. Hell no. Crawford, from what I gather, in his lawsuit, it's some damn good, it's put together very well. And I'm pretty sure he just didn't come in there and mention anything about that in particular. You know what I'm saying? I don't think they put, some closing arguments and say, hey, take a look. Mark my words, Your Honor. They about to make Shakur Stevenson and Oscar Valdez, because Black History Month coming up, and we want to be in good faith with the general public. That shit ain't happening, dog. Agree. PBC doesn't match their black fighters against top black fighters, regardless of promotion. Never gets talked about except here. I'm telling you, man, PBC, Al Heyman's been known for that, bro. He's been known he didn't want black fighters fighting other black fighters. And then when the conversation was at my doorstep, so I had to ask, I say, so You're talking about a black man who's the top 3% of Harvard grad, and people look at this man like he's a man, myth, a legend. He's doing everything right. And then I hear that two black fighters cannot eat together. I'm saying to myself, what is a hell of a drug when I'm listening to that shit? What are we talking about? You got black people hyping up Al Haymon, but yet two black fighters can't eat together. I mean, what is that shit about though? Why, if you're gonna sit up here and say, well, they said black fighters don't sell in boxing. Well, guess what? You have black fighters majority. When it goes to 20, let's say bantamweight a little bit, sprinkles in bantamweight, but let's say super bantam. Let's take it all the way up to 160 pounds. All right. I'm talking about now. Skip 68, 75, cruiser, and let's go to the heavyweight. I mean, that's where we at. I don't get it, because when I hear black people speak of this man, they speak of him as the most high, the most respected. But yet, two black fighters can't eat together. I don't get it. I don't get that at all. So somebody need to explain that to me again, bro. I wanted it to be built a bit. I wanted Shakur versus Valdez to be built a bit more, so it could have been on PPV and start marketing Shakur to the casuals. Look, I find it like this, Dada, the fact that they're even mentioning the fight and it's going down in April seems like it's something that was off the cuff. Like they might have been trying to decide if they was going to have that fight several weeks ago, but nothing was out really to the public about it. All of a sudden, boom, the bomb drops and they're fighting in April. Just like Timothy Smith came out and Errol Spence and them, they supposed to be fighting March, April, right? He drops all this news in January. So you talk about promotion. They want the YTC and everybody else to work for free, dog. They want the YTC to sit up here and continue to create content and do the promotion. You know what I'm saying? They want us to talk about Shakur Stevenson and Oscar Valdez is going down in the next 3 months. You know what I'm saying? They want us to do that shit for free. They say, listen, people, why put up all the flyers and do the special all the camera and promo and all that when you got the YTC? There's no budget with the YTC. None of that. All you have to do is put out a tweet, get on IG. That's it. Those two platforms, IG, Twitter. That's free promo, because just like content creators, we go searching around Twitter, we search around freaking IG, we search the news media platforms, we grab, we take, we create content, and we come out here and talk about it, all without a single penny from these promotions. A single recognition from these promotions. But we sit up here and work for them for free all the time. So they're like, hey, just put a tweet out there and let them talk about it. Put a tweet out there. Go ahead. Don't worry about it. Do an IG live. Talk about it. Man, 49ers are messing up right now. It's in the fourth quarter. The game is 23-17 with 4 minutes and 30 seconds left. I'm not even a football dude like that for real. But this crap is crazy. But anyway, salute. I see you doing your thing, bro. Young billionaire. Shout out to Young Billionaire. Haven't seen you over here, man. Appreciate you pulling up to the spot. Crawford stated he wants to go to 54 and challenge the winner of Charlo Castano. If PBC not willing to make Spence Crawford, will PBC make a Crawford, Charlo, or Castano? Very good question, Logic. Let me take the first two bits on who is out of Castano and Charlo. Is either one of them a bigger star than Errol Spence? No, right? Okay. So just the reduction is started already. Depreciation value has started already, Logic. Because we all know Jermell Charlo is not a bigger star than Errol Spence when it comes down to it. Now, even though he's very close to stepping back in there in a rematch with Castano for unification, he still isn't popular than Errol Spence. And as much as I, criticize the shit out of Errol Spence for what he do, I'm just giving him his flowers. Jermell Charlo is not more popular than Errol Spence. So when it comes down to the money, Crawford versus Spence being the A side, supposedly, it may be a whole different type of situation that we're talking about. It may be a whole entirely different situation when it comes to Mel Charlo. Because definitely those starting numbers is not going to be the same with what we're talking about with Errol Spence. He hasn't fought that competition. What numbers have he did on PPV? He shared the PPV with his brother, and it stunk. So him stepping in there with Crawford, another person who they say don't do big numbers, why wouldn't it be feasible or beneficial for them to be able to make the fight with two fighters who aren't huge PPV stars? But that fight right there can be on PPV because it's dealing with undisputed. So if he's indeed able to defeat Brian Castano and Crawford goes up there, Crawford already have a badge to his freaking plate of being undisputed at 40. If he moves up and his first fight at 54 is Jermell Charlo for undisputed, of course people are going to watch that shit. Of course they're going to tune in, bro. Hell yes, we're going to check that fight out. Because it has a lot going on for it. Even though I say Jermell is not a bigger star than Errol Spence, we all seen him come back in there and take his title from Tony Harrison. We've seen him dig deep. We've seen him in a tough fight with Castano. But when you take two names, even though the boxing public knows who they are, but absent of PPV numbers, registering PPV numbers that's really close to a record, and you don't have that with Crawford and Mel. So they'll be pretty easy for them to come up with some damn suitable numbers. Mel can't walk up in there and outprice himself just because, Crawford is moving up for 47. It's probably going to play out just like Mikey Garcia did when he moved up to fight Errol Spence. You know what I'm saying? It might be the same. Majority of the black fighters in history has made most money in sport and Hall of Famers. Majority of the black fighters in history have made most money in the sport. If you look at this right here, right? Let me take you back a little bit. That's not entirely true. You had certain names that made the big dollar bill, right? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, the Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield, two dance partners that match up well. You know what I'm saying? Matches up very well. What about this? Lennox Lewis versus Mike Tyson. Even though Lennox Lewis, the shade of his skin is that he's dual citizen, Brit and Canadian, I think, right? Something like that. But now here we go again, talking about Mike Tyson. What about this right here? We already know who Floyd Mayweather is. He was able to bring in an 0-0 Conor McGregor. 0-0, dog, in boxing. 5.717, bro. Why can't we get other fighters to be up near these numbers? Now it's just Canelo that's getting all the love. Look at these numbers, man. Of course we can make freaking Terrence Crawford and Mel Charlo. Of course. There's nowhere close to numbers that's going to cost PBC money. Look at that. Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao. Hey, you get the picture. You definitely get the picture. Let me put this last one up there. We're about to see if Prescott is clutch. Hey, all I'm saying, I ain't a football fan, but if it's one team that I think that just goof up, I still remember Tony Romo trying to run to the end zone. They got that, grab that shoelace. They grabbed Tony's shoelace. Get over here, boy. Get over here. Where you think you going? You ain't about to goddamn make history. Batman on deck. If Bud would have never came out with that lawsuit, Shakur would be fighting Burchell. I'm not sure if Burchell was gonna come through and make that weight again at 30. But I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that's not what I was hearing. You know, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that's not what I was hearing. And in hindsight, I'm just speculating. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. Hold up for a second. Let me take this shit down. Let me take this down. I was just speculating about Crawford's civil suit now being made public, and all of a sudden they was talking about Emmanuel Navarrete. All of a sudden that's changed to Stevenson. We're gonna put on Stevenson Valdez. So they won't latch on to Crawford's right. Crawford right about this shit. Just look at Shakur. He just picked up his WBO title, and Valdez has been throwing his name out there, but yet and still they won't even give him enough respect to make the unification. They want to give the spot up to Navarrete, another Latino fighter. I don't know what the fuck going on. It's just crazy that all of a sudden changes are made. But Chuck moving to 135 forced Bob Arum to make the Valdez versus Shakur. Stop it. He already been saying that he was gonna move to 35. What? He couldn't freaking lose the freaking 10 pounds he put on during holiday cooking. I mean, come on, he was already been on record as saying he was gonna move. You know, being knocked out has a lot to cutting weight too. If you're weight cutting and it's being tough on you, a lot goes on with your body and brain, especially when you're in a contact sport. Not every anatomy is built the same. So you losing weight, you had a hard weight cut. Yeah, you can sit up here and look your worst. You can get knocked out flatline, all because of a weight cut. You've been torturing your body trying to lose this weight. You've been in pain. You haven't been feeling good. You get in there, your body rehydrates, but it's going to take a lot more time for it to get comfortable and you feel good. You go in the ring, feeling a certain type of way, and you get knocked the fuck out. I don't think people know how difficult it is for a fighter to continue to make a weight like that because they never really cut weight. You know what I'm saying? They never really had to cut weight for something. Ali, highest paid heavyweight at time. Ray Leonard, highest paid fighter in the 80s. Tyson, highest paid in 90s. Well, it's 2000. So after all those names that you just mentioned, why aren't we able to continue to have one of those, top tier fighters in boxing, black fighters too, black fighters in boxing? If they was able to do it when the sport was still evolving, why can't it be done now? Like if you was paying them that money back then, why can't it be done now? Why do we just have one Canelo that's going around making these big money moves, and we don't have 2 and 3 and 4 and 5? It's just stupid. Real talk. It's just crazy how one fighter walks around and making all this damn money. Why can't it be 4 and 5 boxers out here making high dollar? Appreciate that point there, Logic and Don Dollar. These guys aren't promoting themselves. Even Spence has the personality of a potato. Damn. I would have rather you said a mashed potato. You know what I'm saying? For real. I'm not really here to goddamn. Boy, don't get me started on Spence when he doing promos, for real. Listen, in that perspective right there, I get what you're saying, that Spence don't promote himself, but also I can say the same for Crawford. Crawford really didn't want to give media any type of airplay. I get it. Seriously, I was like Crawford when I was growing up. I wasn't antisocial, but I was antisocial. It wasn't anything with an ego. It's just I always kept to myself and shit like that, right? If these guys don't want to promote themselves, then they can't, in their position, they can't assume they're going to make these big dollars. I'm just saying, because they always say when it comes down to a black fighter, they have to do something like walk down to the ring and do something crazy for people to remember. I don't know. But when you see the other fighters outside of that, like Vasil Lomachenko and Canelo Alvarez, they don't do a lot of talking. Canelo Alvarez just started to really talk and speak and talk his shit. Lomachenko don't say much. And people still want to see that dude fight. He ain't no PPV star, but he's still getting pretty decent money. Some fighters don't really have to say nothing to get the bag. People just like you. Like the jury is still in on Xander Zayas, right? Xander Zayas right now it's a lot of people love to, see him fight and everything. We don't know how big of a talker he's going to be once he really starts to step in there with tough competition. I like what his team did with moving him from welterweight up to 54 and not causing him to struggle and potentially catch a loss down there at welterweight. Then you have what's some other fighters that don't say much. That's big names. I mean, it seems like the fighters this day and time, they are satisfied with a lot of stuff. I don't freaking know. Like Jared Anderson, Shakur Stevenson. Shakur Stevenson talks his shit though. He let the world know that he's totally confident in what he's doing. I'm just waiting on the people to embrace him. He talk his shit. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know, man. Like Deontay Wilder talked this shit, they vilified him. I don't know, man. I don't have an answer to how much shit a fighter should talk or not. You know what I'm saying? Because, the Charlos, even after the Tony Harrison, people still not really rocking with Charlo that hard. Like you get the in-house Texans. You know what I'm saying? They'll sit up there and defend Charlo for a little bit because he put out another video of showing his material possessions and shit. But besides that, have we even had another press conference like him and Tony Harrison? It doesn't even come close. We haven't even seen that energy, y'all. If we can get that energy per press conference, that shit was A1, dog. Classic. And just think, back in the day, they used to really put hands on one another. Tyson really used to get in. Lennox Lewis, he used to get in. Riddick Bowe, they used to get it in, man. You come to this motherfucker talking shit, I'll see you at the presser, dog. How many times have you seen Derek Chisora? Boom. I like that shit. I don't know if it does for them coming to see them pay, but it has to. Like Derek Chisora keep losing, but they know he's going to give you something exciting, say during the presser. They gonna say this dude don't have his screws are loose up there. That motherfucker crazy. These guys ain't promoting themselves, and they gonna have to figure it out, bro. Because not every fighter with pizzazz and shit can bring the fans in. That's real talk. I don't know the dynamic to make that happen. For a Latino fighter, Mexican fighter, European fighter, I don't know the dynamic that we need to make that shit happen. Like, boxing fans are so finicky on who they support. Look at Naoya Nui in a way, right? The bantamweight champion, AK Monster. He don't say much. People love to see him fight. Yes, cutting weight does something to your punch resistance. I remember doing wrestling season. I was basically starving myself. Yeah, and that's what I hope to discuss over there with Bruce tomorrow about diet, because that has a lot to do with how you cut weight. Some people, they look at TV all the time. I know the behind the scenes on these diet shit. I know it's a reason why you see nothing but the fine, the good looking women on these commercials doing these diet commercials. It's a reason why they stand a certain way to make it seem like they have a gut, and then they take another picture in the same room with a different outfit on, and literally they just give them a little bit of time, right, to deplete some water, and they'll come in there, squeeze their core, tighten up their core, and take another picture, and that's going to be their before and after picture, and people are going to latch on to it and say, oh, that's all you got to do. You got to take this. You can take all the supplements you want, but if you have no idea on how to properly diet, you're going to be in trouble. Staying disciplined to that diet and losing weight the healthy way. You don't want to crash course, because your brain, your body, your sugar levels, everything, man, will crash, and you'll be feeling so fucking bad, dog. Mayweather changed the game when it comes to money in the sport. I agree. Yeah, but Spence has a machine behind him. He's co-signed by Jerry Jones and has the Dates of Texas behind him. The boxing home since the pandemic. When it comes to Canelo, he has a country behind him. Okay. I always tell in debates, right? I always have something to say about country. You know what I'm saying? A country. Because in that case, all Latino fighters should do high numbers, but that is not the way it goes down. Speaking of co-signing, I was at the fight when the first time Jerry Jones stepped in there, But if, let's put it down, Jerry Jones supporting, how many times have you fallen how many times have you fall over there in AT&T? He had Mikey Garcia and Danny Garcia, right? Did they do incredible, stupid, dumb numbers? All the three of fights, did they? Then you have to look at Jerry Jones have to get paid too. You know what I'm saying? And an opponent has to be something that's worth it for Jerry Jones to step in there. Jerry Jones, man, he's, what I'm saying? He's the OG over there in Texas, bro. You have to have an opponent to be able to put some numbers for them to allot them seats. Errol Spencer's never sold out AT&T Stadium. Y'all need to get that straight. For the allotted tickets that they gave him, he did. He's not. I don't give a damn. He. Let's get this straight. Also, he ain't originally from Texas. He wasn't born in Texas. I don't know why people keep associating him with Texas, and like he true born and raised over there. No, maybe raised a little bit, but he wasn't born over there. But back to Jerry Jones. Errol Spence has to have an opponent, and then you still have to look at the promotion. If it was that easy, Spence would be having every fight over there in Texas with the motherfucking Jerry Jones cosign. But Jerry Jones ain't gonna cosign Ragu. Jerry Jones ain't gonna cosign Ragu. You got to put on a fight card for Jones to damn put people in the stands over there at that stadium. I mean, come on, man. Like, come on, let's go. We better than that, man. You're gonna come to somebody like Jerry Jones, you better have a goddamn name that's gonna bring in numbers. He said a machine. He said the machine behind him. Also, another part of it is only we're seeing these high level boxers on only fighting once or twice a year. There's no consistency there being forgotten in between fights. This is my take on that, Dada, is the fact that not every fighter is the same, of course, and not every fighter's contract is inked the same, nor is it verbalized or the language is the same. Some of these fighters can't afford to fight 4 times a year because they feel the amount of money they get, they have to keep fighting to survive. Then you take the other fighters that you're mentioning, they may be making some pretty decent, money. They've did enough to get to that point to be making some pretty decent money, right? Which they say, you know what? Instead of me spending, like I said on the other live, instead of me spending a time away from my home, my family and my home, I'm only gonna fight, twice a year because I have enough money to survive until I get another fight. So you're talking about going to fight camp. This is what people totally exclude. These fighters have to leave and get ready for fight camp. For fight camp, fighters start to act different. They're tired, they're dieting, and they're on a schedule. Their kids don't get no play. Nobody. They have to. Let's give or take a 6 to 8 week training camp. 6 weeks, they're full blown. They're doing what they got to do. They're on a damn tight schedule, on a tight diet, whatever the case may be. They go to the fight. They jump out the ring. They got to recover according to how tough the fight was, right? And then, what if they had 3 fights that year? They take about 2.5, 3 weeks off. They right back in fight camp again. So I don't like comparing everything to the military, but just put 5 years into perspective, right? 5 years, 3 fights per year. These are civilians. They used to doing what they want, right? So you put yourself in a civilian, 3 fights per year for 5 years. That's 15 fights, right? With those 15 fights, you have to look at who is the fighter and also how long are they going to have training camp? Each of those training camps, according to who they fighting, it's going to be about 4 weeks, 4 or 5 weeks. They have to pay for those training camps. They have to stay healthy enough to make it into the ring. They go fight, they have to win. So when you start getting this money for these fighters to say, you know what, after taxes, I'm pretty good, man. Fuck it. And then you get the fighters like after taxes, they say, oh shit, where everything go? Hey, get a manager. They call up their manager, get on the phone. I need to fight again. I got bills to pay, dog. I got to fight. You think I can take a regional car, something low? Target, Walmart, something like that. I need to fight, dog. Kroger. Also, another part of it, we understand these. Look at the common denominator for all the fighters you name. They could have all fought. They could all have the right characteristics to be a champ and will be treated differently than their counterparts. That's a solid point. I look at it like this, that it definitely comes down to complexion some of the time. When I'm saying that not everybody can be Floyd Mayweather. All right. I'm not saying Shakur Stevenson. You saw my thumbnail, right? I call Shakur Stevenson the emperor. The emperor has risen. Shakur Stevenson is going to do some crazy things in boxing because of how he goes about training the sport. Watch what I tell you. Shakur Stevenson is one of those fighters who is still working on his career. He's been in the corner. He's been cornering fighters. Shakur Stevenson, he ain't that old, but his mindset, I'm telling you, his mindset as a fighter is crazy. Like his maturity and mindset right now as a boxer, he's going to do pretty good things, man. Shakur Stevenson might be the next in line for black fighters to be making that money. We'll see. We'll see. You know, Terrence Crawford, them going to be gone. Errol Spencer's going to be gone. You know, all these top names we talk about, black fighters, they're going to be out the question. And then we'll have the Boots Hendersons that's pulling up. It all depends on what people see in you, bro. I get you, but I'm comparing to the old days, even the early 2000s. Just goes to show how the business has changed. Man, we have to understand the caliber of fighters back then, man. They was fighting anybody. They were fighting everybody. Like they was fighting who you wanted them to fight. We know boxing has changed on how they even face competition, period, right now. We know that for a damn fact. But those fighters back then, man, they still have the same, if you want to mention denominator as some of these fighters, they still don't have a retirement plan. They're still going through it. You know what I'm saying? They're still going through it with residual damage received from boxing. And you can't say you was feeling this way at your 13th fight, but yet you're retired and you want them to pretty much pay for your CT scans and everything else that goes along with it, but yet they don't have no insurance plan for you like that. Hey, the older boxers, they had some damn exciting fights back there. We always gonna talk about the names of the old school fighters, man. I think we'll always talk about more of them than we will of what I'm seeing right here in this era. Like no one is really stunting on the game. Even Canelo's not stunting on the game. What I mean stunting, he's not fighting enough. You know, his only one right now would be Gennady Golovkin. That couldn't even turn into a rivalry when it was hot because they only did two fights. Let's say, for instance, Deontay fighting Luis Ortiz, and he fought Tyson Fury 3 times. He fought Luis Ortiz twice and Tyson Fury. You don't see fighters up here just giving rematch. We don't see the Juan Estradas and Roman Gonzalez's. We don't see people fighting each other twice, 3 times over. And they're big names, man. I was just reading about how they used to call Roy Jones Reluctant Roy because of his lack of top-tier opposition. Shout out to Roy Jones, Hall of Famer coming up. Yeah, that is something they always talk about with Roy. And also they talk about, I've heard this conversation from people in sidebar conversations, on Fight Week, that, you had people saying that Roy Jones never fought anyone equal or better than he was. It was nobody there to just give him that that test, that test of equality for skill, punch for punch. And they gave him a knock for that. He didn't step in with a fighter that was equal to greater than he was. I mean, you just can't look at when he was knocked out. You can't do that. Because that, he went on to fight Antonio Tarver 3 times. Like you can't just take all his knockout losses and just put it up as if they were greater than Roy. We got to look at where Roy was, in his career and what was happening. But I agree with what you said, Dollar. People do speak on that like that. They speak on that shit. They always say, he didn't. They don't say he cherry picked because he was so damn good, but they saying he was very selective and careful about who he fought. I can't see it, man. He made his opponents look like they was beginners, dog. I'm just saying. He made it look like they was beginners, man. But let's see how this lawsuit play out, because the way I look at it, it's good news. At the end of the day, it's very good news. I love it. I love both parts of it. You know what I'm saying? I like the fact that he's standing on his 10 inside his square. And also, I like the fact that Shakur Stevenson gets his fight. Now, it would be good if they can just somehow put the Spider-Man web over there to the lightweight division, because all I'm hearing is, oh, they're close to be done. Kambosos Haney close to being done. Kambosos Haney close to being done. One thing I would tell you about Eddie Hearn is that he loved putting media morsels out there. That's what he loved doing. He loved y'all eating that shit up. So he'll talk to these people all of that. So they pretty much saying Devin Haney and George Kambosos is almost finished. We'll see. If they, they talking about having a fight in the Middle East. We'll see. We'll see. But in the meanwhile, I like what I'm seeing so far. My last topic is gonna be Errol Spence, Shadina Ugas, right? I don't know if you heard what Timothy Bradley had to say as of recent, but Timothy Bradley states that once a fighter has an eye injury, his eye is never the same. Spence suffered his eye injury last summer while training for a fight in August against Manny Pacquiao. Although Spence did have surgery to repair the problem, he hasn't fought since, and there are questions about whether he can come back. In the IBF WBC welterweight champion Spence case, he's got a tough fight coming up against WBA champion Yordenis Ugas in April. If his eye still gives him problem, he could lose the fight. I don't feel he's wrong, because he said if his eye isn't healed, he may indeed lose the fight. I mean, that's clear enough, isn't it? It's not anything bad about that. They said Spence lose to Ugas, the Cuban fighter will surely face WBO 147-pound champion Terrence Crawford for the undisputed championship. Ugas already sent the 42-year-old Pacquiao into retirement after stepping in as a replacement opponent for the Filipino star last August. Will Ugas send Spence into retirement too? Errol Spence and Yordenis Ugas on a collision course for March or April, said Max Kellerman. So, it's people that are looking at Spence like, is he good? Is he together? Or does he still walk around here with fractures? Is it still internal medical damage, medical conditions going on from his car accident that they're not really talking about? You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's my only deal. Like, is he 100% healthy? He go in there, Yordenis Ugas, he don't look good. The hype for Errol Spence is done. It's over. Because put it this way, if he looks way worse, and then we're talking about his age, and we're talking about the reason why he's looking the way he is, it could be all bad. He could crash and burn, but he's going to still have people supporting him to go see him fight because he's popular. If he goes in there and look bad against Ugas, people are going to look like, hey, that's because, he had the accident. He'll be back. Dude is in his 30s, bro. Dude is in his 30s. If he goes in here and look terrible against Ugas, what's all this shit talking about? He'll be back. That's only his first loss. He'll be back. Not if he have CTE damage. You know what I'm saying? Not if his eyes fucked up. And you're looking back at Abner Mares. When have you seen Abner Mares get back in the ring and do what he's supposed to do with that eye injury? They said he was about to come back. Look at Israel Vasquez. Israel Vasquez was coming back before his eye was totally healed, taking all that damage. Now he had that eye removed. It was damaged. I remember looking at that fight growing up, and people's like, why is Vasquez coming back? His eye couldn't be healthy. And needing a check. That's just like I said about Nakatani. When they say he finished fighting Tio, he had a head injury or a brain injury. And then all of a sudden, you get the news he's coming back to fight Verdejo. I thought he had a head injury. Boom, he gets stuck there. I think Verdejo knocked him down twice. So he took some damage in that fight. I said, okay, I know he's going to take some time. Then he come back to fight Lomachenko. And he gets smashed in that fight. So he could have an ongoing, head injury, but he want to make as much money as possible. So really, it depends on your name, but boxing, they can get you cleared. Let's don't get it twisted. You can get cleared. They're going to have all the paperwork in case you pass away in the ring. They're going to have all the paperwork. You fighting on your own free will, this, and this, and that. Real talk shit. I'm looking forward to that fight with Errol Spence and Yordenis Ugas. But I'm telling y'all, I don't think he's going to make it to the ring, y'all. People up here talking about Errol Spence is sparring. Bro. With who? It can't be. If he got a fight in April, he can't be sparring because that's contradicting. People say he's sparring right now, but he hasn't started training camp. Which one is it? If he's sparring, he can do light sparring and go to the body and everything like that. Do body sparring. But, his Spencerholics was up here saying that he was in full-blown sparring. It doesn't make any sense because what? He was letting the eye heal, right? And then he's trying to make sure he make it to this Ugas fight. So is the eye good to the point where he's doing full contact hard sparring, or are they just doing, body sparring? Because why would they want to damage that eye leading into a unification, a big fight like this, the unification, and then either pull out of the fight or they're not cleared to fight, or go in there and lose horribly to freaking Ugas. I just don't want the Spencerholics to come back on here creating thumbnails and talking about, we starting to GoFundMe. Love to our fighter Errol Spence, man. Man down, man. Man down. Now, we don't want all that shit, bro. We don't want none of that. Just keep it the same. When it comes down to it, just keep it the same. What it really comes down is these guys not fighting each other in this new era, so no one has a resume to back up their skills. I agree with that. Like, the resumes are very, very marginal at this era. I totally agree with that. The resumes are marginal, but with those resumes, right, the competition isn't a murderous row of boxers that we just want to stay tuned into all the time. That is not the case. So we have to somehow, some way, the matchmakers put the right fighters in and start building up the brand of these fighters. Put them in there with the right competition. If you're going to have a ranking system, allow those fighters to fight one another in the ranking system. Like Virgil Ortiz is fighting Michael McKinnon. Wow. They're both, come on. A shocker. I'm not saying it don't happen on the regular, because I know, Sean Poison Dad. The list goes on and on. I'm just saying, like, on a consistent basis, why don't these fighters that's in the ranking system fight each other more than once? That's the only way we're going to start getting the best fight the best. They have to fight each other more than once, man. You can't just be up in the ranking systems. You get your shot, you don't get it done, and then you drift off into the abyss, and you're fighting somebody that just graduated from goddamn Popeyes. God damn it! They serving in the reserves with goddamn Popeyes Nation, and then they're doing boxing part time. I think, just give them 1 or 2 fights if they lose, 1 or 2 fights, still with some people in the top 10. And then out of that, they can still work themselves up to get a title shot again, instead of just being dumped off. Like if you had, let's say, for instance, we talk about Sean Porter, Danny Garcia. They've been losing and they still stay where they at. If we can have a consistent basis with more names, you know what I'm saying? Not the old guys all the time, but more names that's competing in these divisions. Treat the young fighters the same way. They lose, goddamn, give them a fight and then put them back in there. Build them up. But that's not going to happen because the managers and whoever, they trying to make money off the fighter. The fighter may not have confidence in going back in there after taking a loss. So they have to really plan that carefully. Like I said, it's so confusing sometimes. Fighters not getting paid, fighters getting paid. Fighters fighting 3 to 4 times a year, vice fighters fighting twice to 1 time a year. Who does PPV numbers? Who doesn't do PPV numbers? That shit is always going to be a mystery because it's no solid documents that's going to give you somebody's personal business. Especially when it comes to boxing. It's tough, man. That's a tough sport to compete in, man. No medical benefits like that. When you retire, that's a tough sport, dog. So the best thing you can do is negotiate your worth while you're competing, get as much money as possible, and get out the sport without catching CTE. That's all I'm saying. But people, I just pulled up, man. I appreciate y'all for pulling up, tuning in. Definitely be back on here tomorrow. It's good news, in my opinion, that Shakur Stevenson getting his shot with Valdez. You know what I'm saying? That's real good news. I look forward to it. I see Shakur Stevenson winning that. And also we have some other boxing topics to talk about that I just didn't want to blend in with this live per se. But I'm just curious to know if any of that was tied in to any of what's been going on beforehand. With Crawford submitting a lawsuit, and then how many times in 2021 we heard Shakur Stevenson talking about fighting Valdez, and Valdez pretending like he was gonna fight him, and all of a sudden Navarrete name come up. We don't know what that's about, but we shall find out, people. Y'all hold it down, man. Have a safe week. You know what I'm saying? Because it's badass weather down here. Y'all have a safe week and turn up and tune in to World Combat Sports. I'm out.